In my opinion, the agency is one of the best value for money businesses in all of GTA Online, despite costing over $2 million for the cheapest location. Now, not only does it offer 4 different sources of income, but it also comes with a Mark II weapons workshop, personal accommodations and living quarters, Imani Tech vehicle upgrades, as well as a 20-car garage. Plus, you get to choose from 10 different fast travel locations around the city and the option to grab a free helicopter ride to any location of your choice while you exit the building. The thing that really makes the agency stand out here is the fact that everything I just mentioned, apart from the vehicle workshop, armory, and personal quarters, is provided to you from the start. No equipment or staff upgrades needed. You can just buy an agency and start making money right off the bat. This is different from other businesses like the nightclub or even the acid lab, where you must first make a few investments before the cash really starts to roll in. Not the case with the agency. You get the max amount of income on day one, and the best part is that you can initiate all types of contracts except for the Dr. Dre VIP contract right from the comfort of your vehicle, so that you don't even need to be in the agency in order to make money. Granted, the payout can vary a lot, and you need to learn the timings in order to get the most out of this business, which is why I've decided to create an agency money making guide. And so in this video, I will teach you the best ways to make money with the agency and why it's one of the best starter businesses in the game for solo players. Veterans already know all of this stuff, which is why my video is targeted primarily at newcomers and returning players who haven't really touched the game in a long time. But before we get into the specifics of money making with the agency, let's talk about what it is and how you can get one. Basically, the agency is a front for a problem-solving organization that caters exclusively to big money mafia types and crooked politicians. People who are too rich or politically exposed to get their hands dirty come to Franklin with all their problems, and since you're his partner and field agent, you get a nice chunk of the profits as long as you carry out the task. Expect everything from protection and repossession of assets to assassinations and theft. Franklin is kind of like the fixer of Los Santos, and you're his muscle. As for the actual jobs, there are 2 main types of content in the agency building: security contracts and payphone hits. The first is unlocked as soon as you purchase the agency, which, by the way, doesn't have to be any specific location. If you're starting out, I highly recommend the Little Soul agency, which comes in at $2,010,000 and offers all the benefits of the more expensive Hawick site at 71% of the cost. Okay, now with that out of the way, how do you buy an agency? Thankfully, there are no prerequisites here. You just need the cash. Open up the internet browser on your phone, log into the Dynasty 8 Executive Realty website under the Money and Services section, and select the Agencies tab. You'll be given a choice between 4 different locations, all of which are in central Los Santos, which means you can easily access your other properties from here. At the start, you don't need to purchase any of the upgrades if you don't have the cash, but I highly recommend both the armory and the vehicle workshop upgrades later on in the game. The armory is basically a personal ammunition store built into your agency, which means you'll never have to scavenge around the map for ammo or gear before missions as long as you set your spawn point to the agency. And also, you get a 5% discount on every item, which can be boosted to 10% if you get commendations from your fellow players. Inside of the agency armory, you can buy weapons, upgrade weapons to Mark II, attach stuff like flashlights, scopes, extended magazines, etc., and you can even buy armor, which is a huge bonus. At first, this may not seem like such a big deal since there are other businesses that also come with an armory upgrade, but remember, none of them stock gear such as body armor, rebreathers, or night vision. The agency armory is the only place that sells gear in addition to weapons, ammo, and explosives. Plus, you get free snacks on both the bottom and top floors of your agency, so you'll always be ready for a fight the moment you walk out of your agency. And don't forget the Imani Tech vehicle workshop, which lets you install remote control modules and missile lock-on jammers on your personal vehicles. Right now, the agency is the only place where you can install these Imani Tech upgrades, mainly because Imani happens to be one of your employees and she's located on the floor just above your office. So if you want that sweet lock-on jammer to keep you safe from Oppressor Mark II griefers, you know where to spend $800,000. But the most underrated feature of the agency by far is its transportation. Besides the garment factory, this is one of the only businesses in the game with a built-in fast travel, but it also lets you take a helicopter ride on your way out. Now, this fast travel isn't perfect, but with 10 different locations to pick from, including hotspots such as LSIA, Grapeseed, Sandy Shores, and Paleto Bay, it's easily one of the best ways to cut down on your travel time. You activate fast travel by interacting with the guy at the front desk and picking the SUV service. Once you pick a location, the game plays a small 5-second cutscene of your agency SUV rolling out and cuts immediately to the destination you selected. Alternatively, if you want more control over your destination, you can go to the aerial route with a helicopter exit. The Super Valito Carbon is free, whereas all others cost $200 each. And by the way, you can get that Super Valito Carbon and put it in your hangar if you want, just by flying over one from the agency. that still works in this game. Now, the agency also comes with a level 3 garage. You get 1 parking spot on level 1, 10 on level 2, and 9 more on level 3 for a total of 20 parking spaces. So if it's early in your career and you're running low on parking spaces and don't want to waste money on more garages, there you go. Buy an agency and get a bunch of parking space in addition to all of the new money-making options at your disposal. Speaking of which, let's talk about the reason you guys clicked on this video. How do you make money with an agency? And is it worth it? I will tell you right now that if you're expecting the hourly returns to be on par with Cayo Perico or the Diamond Casino heist, you'll probably be disappointed because, to be frank, there is no other heist or contract in the game that compares with those two. However, if you evaluate the agency on its own terms, which is a nice starter business with 0 startup costs and a simple schedule, it's easily one of the most beginner-friendly money-making methods in the entire game. See, it's really simple. Like I said earlier, you have 2 ways of making money: contracts and payphone hits, but there's also a third passive source, which is your office safe that accumulates money after each successful contract. You get $100 per contract, $500 per 5 contracts, and it's deposited into your safe at the start of a new in-game day, so every 48 minutes IRL. The maximum cap on your daily passive earnings is $20,000, so you need to do a total of 201 contracts to hit this cap, which is how you get $20,000 every 48 minutes you play the game. The safe itself can hold up to $250,000 too, so be sure to remove the money once it reaches this cap, or else it will stop accumulating more income and you'll be wasting in-game playtime. Now let's talk about the contracts themselves. There are 2 types of contracts. There's security contracts as well as VIP contracts. When you buy your agency for the first time, Franklin will run you through all the details and show you your office space. Inside of your office, there is a computer that you can use to log into the F. Clinton and Partner local network, and this page shows you how many security contracts you've completed, as well as your total earnings from the agency business. Security contracts come in 3 tiers of difficulty: professional at the bottom, specialist in the middle, and specialist plus at the top. When you open the security contracts page, it will always give you 3 contracts to choose from at any time. And there are 6 different classes of contracts: asset protection, gang termination, liquidize assets, recover valuables, rescue operation, and vehicle recovery. These are all pretty much self-explanatory, and the actual class or type of contract doesn't really matter as much as the pay grade. Ideally, you want Specialist Plus, as these pay between $60,000 and $70,000 per contract, despite taking the same amount of time as the others. But most of the time, the game will assign you Professional or Specialist work. Professional is the lowest tier and pays anywhere from $30,000 to $42,000, and Specialist pays in the mid-40,000 to $50,000, and it may be just as difficult as Professional or even slightly easier depending on the exact task. Some of these missions are quite tedious, maybe like the asset protection one, where you literally have to sit and guard assets for 15 minutes or 12 minutes at a time sometimes, but others are quite easy, like the rescue operation missions, where you drive into one area, search for an asset and eliminate a couple threats, and drive back with that asset and protecting him in your car. Now, for the protection and rescue missions, I do highly recommend an armored vehicle. The Ampante Duke of Death is my go-to pick for new players, as you can literally get it for free on the Warstock Cash and Carry website, and it's completely impervious to bullets from most angles. Rescue operations are kind of in that middle tier, same with gang terminations, and I would just say avoid asset protection at all costs. Now that does it for security contracts. Now most of these take anywhere from about 5 minutes on average to sometimes 10 minutes or more, and you get about $45,000 to $50,000 on average, which I think is pretty solid for the amount of time you spend on them. Also, you can initiate these contracts from anywhere on the map simply by calling Franklin and asking him for a security contract, so don't worry about driving back and forth between your agency and other properties. For me, the security contracts are something you can do between heist cooldowns or resupplies for your acid lab or your math lab or other MC businesses or just other things in general. Once you complete a contract, you cannot request a new one until 5 minutes have passed because of that 5-minute cooldown. Then we have the next type of agency contract, which is the VIP contract that you do for Dr. Dre. But before I get into that, let me first talk about payphone hits. Payphone hits are these really short mini assassination missions that are unlocked once you do 3 normal contracts. I've seen a lot of rumors about certain conditions needing to be fulfilled here, but there are only 2 things you need before Franklin rings you up. First, you need to own that agency. And second, you need to finish 3 normal contracts. That's it. Just 2 prerequisites, and Franklin will call you up on a random payphone as you're driving around town. Now, don't worry here, you can't miss it. Even if you drive past and do some other mission, it will appear in blue on your map, and it will be marked accordingly. Now, once you accept that first payphone hit, you can then request new ones simply by calling up Franklin. Each payphone hit pays $15,000 at a base and gives you a $30,000 bonus if you do the assassination according to Franklin's special specifications. One of my favorites is when he asks you to kill these basement-dwelling internet trolls who are colluding on social media to manipulate stock prices. Apparently, some big shot executive types don't want these kids meddling with their company fortunes, so they ask Franklin to come take care of the problem. And your job is to make sure that the kill looks like random accident. So instead of shooting them, you must use a vehicle to drive them over. If you just shoot them, you'll get the base $15K, but if you drive them over, you'll get an extra $30,000 for your efforts, which comes out to $45,000 for just 5 to 6 minutes of work. Now, other variants of that same mission will require headshots, for example, and on and on and on. Now, there are other memorable missions too, like when you're asked to kill a company CEO who pretends to be a down-to-earth, blue-collar type in front of the camera, but in private is a total asshole and mistreats his employees. So one day when he's dressed up like a worker on a construction site and mingling with his employees for a media report, you drive over and assassinate him by blowing up a giant gas tank with your silent sniper rifle to make it look like he died from a work-related incident. Again, you could just shoot him, but you'll get less than half the maximum payout. Payphone hits are a really nice way to fill in the gaps between other types of content, and they're kind of like time trials, only a lot more murderous, if that makes sense. The cooldown on payphone hits is 10 minutes. It used to be 48 a couple years ago, and the payphone hits paid $85,000, but Rockstar changed the payout and cooldown in a patch, and they did it actually a few times, so this is the current one. $45,000 payout with the bonus objective, 10-minute cooldown. Now, they're easier to grind, but worse if you only do one per session or one per hour because the payout has been cut in half. Alright, now it's finally time to talk about the main course, also known as the Dr. Dre VIP contract. This is a multi-stage heist of sorts, in which you're tasked with finding Dr. Dre's lost phone that has a number of unreleased demo tracks on it. The contract starts off with a raid into the FIB headquarters, where you land on the roof with a helicopter and cut through the skylight with a plasma torch. Then you install Imani's virus on the security terminals to steal the FIB's mass surveillance program. Pretty crazy stuff, and it culminates in a skydive off the top of the building. Then you play another setup mission where you meet the man, Dr. Dre himself, on a golf course and bully a couple of rich golfer bros after they threaten to get Dre's club membership revoked. Both the FIB and golf course missions are first time only, meaning you don't have to play them again unless you want to after you beat the VIP contract at least once. Next, there are 3 different copies of Dre's phone floating around Los Santos, and each case has its own setup and finale with 9 missions in total. In the first case, you go after a trust fund kid in his 20s who's been bragging all over social media about releasing Dr. Dre's exclusive tracks. It starts off with a nightclub raid and ends with a massive gunfight in the Diamond Casino where you track down the kid and steal all his copies of Dr. Dre's unreleased music. Then, in the second case, you go after this crazy billionaire who wants to turn Dre's demo tracks into multi-million-dollar NFTs, and he's auctioning these NFTs at some exclusive garden party. So you drive in there with a fake ID, blow up a bunch of expensive cars, and terrorize the billionaire until he decides to flee in his private helicopter. The finale of this case can be quite troublesome since you'll have very little cover to work with, and you'll also be swarmed from all sides by heavily armed guards while simultaneously defending against a perpetually respawning chopper that keeps poking at you from the air. So I definitely advise bringing lots of sticky bombs as well as a fully loaded homing launcher. With the sticky bombs, you can quickly blow up the expensive cars and cause lots of mayhem, which is going to dramatically increase the intimidation meter and force the fight to progress into the second phase where that billionaire is going to attempt to run away in his helicopter. You can't lock onto the chopper, but you can still free aim with your homing launcher and blow it out of the sky. Miniguns also work, things like that. In the third case, you're going back to the hood because this time it looks like one of the Ballas has stolen a copy of Dre's phone. But later, it turns out that the real thief was a Vagos gang member, so the Ballas and DNF team up to hunt him down for Dr. Dre. Later, we find out the Vagos got their copy from a man called Johnny Guns, who has a record producer and has beefed with Dr. Dre since the 90s. He's the mastermind behind all of this and is responsible for stealing Dr. Dre's original phone. And this is where we get into the finale stage of the Dre contract. You play 2 more missions, both of which are pretty straightforward gun battles with loads of enemies, and it ends with Dre gifting you his unreleased music and a completion bonus of $1 million. You also get around $100,000 from all the setup missions, so it's about $1.1 million in total for probably first time 2.5 hours of work because of like little cooldowns in between missions. But once you're farming this over and over, you can do it in an hour 20 minutes to an hour 30 minutes very, very easily. Now, like I said earlier, you will be disappointed if you compare this to Cayo Perico, which can give you $1 million in 1 hour, but the Dr. Dre storyline, for one, is quite entertaining for a first-time playthrough, and the missions themselves are fairly enjoyable, even though they might get a bit repetitive after a few tries. Now, if you're a new player and wondering how you can afford an agency, I definitely suggest the Cluckenbell Farm Raid and the Los Santos Drug Wars missions. Meet up with Vincent for the Cluckenbell Raid and Dax for the First Dose missions. Each playthrough of the Cluckenbell Farm Raid gives you $500,000, and it can be completed in less than an hour. The First and Last Dose missions also give you around $500,000 in total, and you get the Brigade 6x6 to set up your acid lab, which is an excellent source of passive income for solo players. But even if you don't want to do all that, check out my videos on earning $100 million as fast as possible, as well as my ranking every business video, so you can kind of see where the agency falls into play compared to the rest of the businesses in the game. But anyways, that's my money making guide and just full guide for the agency itself. I haven't really done a business guide for this game yet. This is my first one. Is it the most lucrative business in the game? No, but it's the most versatile and it requires zero investment if you just want to make money. If you grab the armory and Imani Tech Workshop upgrades, it transforms into a top tier headquarters, and combined with the transportation features, it's easily the best value for money office building that you can own in GTA Online. So I'd love to know what you think of the agency. Is it worth spending money on it if you're a new player? Do you still do the security contracts and the payphone hits to earn money? Let me know in the comments. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed today's video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Make sure to check out my GTA Online live streams, twitch.tv/hazardoushtv, but you can also check me out on Twitter and Instagram as well. All those places are going to be the best to get connected with me outside of YouTube. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching again. I will catch you guys in the next GTA Online video, and until then, adios amigos.